Africans, but then areas where they can actually start. You know, when you, for example, you want to start something in Los Gatos and you see your people there, but it's so expensive and you don't even know which area to start, like those kind of education, like bringing people together and educate them on where, you know, how to just start and then maybe funds to help in any way.
Okay. Thank you.
Think of an African store where you can get almost everything that's, that can make you feel at home.
Yeah.
An African store that caters to the needs of people from Africa.
Okay.
One of the major challenges with that is that it's more federal than state on community because there's tariffs on all the products coming from Africa, and then there's like there's a lot of economic, barricades sort of. It's very challenging to ship things from Africa down here. So it's more of a federal economic challenge than a community challenge. That is very hard to work on, but it is a concerted effort so that then it's a very high level problem. But I agree absolutely with that. And I want to be able to go to Walmart and just see my products in there as opposed to just have to go to a unique African store and pay exorbitant prices for it, But I would like to add that I feel like something very simple as cultural exposure, which is very great at, but also one of the things I was working with my ex on was to just even introduce drumming, into the community. And one of the instruments we play in Africa is drums.
Yeah.
It might be different, but it's drumming, and it's usually the djembe or the talking drum or whatever kind of drum. And even if it's just to provide books in the libraries, in the classrooms, in the theater, at least have plays that are, unique to our cultural languages or cultural messages, whatever it is. And then in the libraries, read a book on Yoruba culture, Igbo culture, Efik culture, whatever culture, from other African, very, very specific, not just generalized, culture, And in one of my daughter's schools, they read a book on racism and how we're different. And I was so proud, I almost cried. But imagine if it was more specific. And today we're reading about the Yoruba culture, tomorrow we're reading about the Igbo culture, tomorrow about the Nupe or the Fulani or whatever I feel like that alone is something very significant in the minds of the younger ones. And so they're growing up with that cultural awareness. And then they can go on to do bigger things, like remove the tariffs on imported African goods.
Yeah.
School bullying for our children.
Oh, yes.
The culture. So cultural identity of our children. So they're trying to be, so exercise at home when they go to school, and they get, bullying, sense of, identity crisis. So they're trying to fit between two culture. And also cost of living, housing market. So our culture, the African culture, we believe having more children. Mm-hmm. So they need, their own sense of living. Also, the housing market is very, here in Silicon Valley, very expensive. So here, each children, they need their own, room. It's hard to provide. And also, I want to be an add-on like cultural competency, like, work, county-wise, state-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be addressed and exercised.
Oh, well, I don't know where to start, Elena. I mean, this is a very big question.
Very, very.
Yeah. So for us, for African immigrants, we start everything from scratch, right? We move here, and some of us, we have to go to school, and we have to go through the process of acculturation, learning the language, adapting the culture, and all that. And it's emphasized in here that if you go to school, you will do well. And some of us, we did that, and we are submerging in student loans, right? And we was hoping that the federal government was going to support with student loans. That was the promise from the president himself, but that never came true. So that was just a dream, right? And I cannot agree more with Simran. affordable housing is a huge issue in this part of the country, right? So across the board for us, we have to struggle twice as much, 3 times as much than the natives here to do well. And in most cases, it doesn't even matter whether you have some kind of credential, whether you are working a job or two, in some cases 3 jobs. You barely make a living and put food on the table for your family. So it is a very broad question. I think, I don't know how it can be addressed, whether at state level, local level, or the federal level, but something has to be done for immigrants to be able to do well to a certain point.
Thank you. Do you want to add something or? Yeah. Okay, so
I'll add something.
Okay. Yeah.
Behavioral and mental health, that's another big one, I feel, needs to be culturally responsive. That's totally different, and in different ways that are innovative. For example, this is just an example, music therapy. Music therapy in most settings I've seen, they just, classical music. I'll bring out it. Classical music is like what everybody is supposed to, to receive as music therapy. It might not help me therapeutically in comparison to Afrobeats music, in comparison to, high life music, in comparison to soukous music, the different parts of the different genres of African music that you can think of. So that's just like in a nutshell when it comes to behavioral and mental health, culturally responsive services through certain types of therapy. That's just one type, never mind, many others.
Okay, we're gonna move because I am behind. So we've been talking for a while about the community. So now let's think more broadly about your everyday life throughout the cities where you reside and the whole of Santa Clara County. What tensions or difficulties do you know about between different groups in your area? That's a broad, difficult question. What tensions or difficulties do you know about between different groups in your area? Have you experienced any of these tensions in your life?
I think Mena, I'm sorry. Was it Mena?
Menen.
Sorry about that. Has talked about language. I'm a very big proponent of being able to speak whatever language you choose to speak as a person. And she shared how some people would ask her, why are you speaking your language? And I'm thinking, how is it that anyone could get asked that sort of thing? So these are things, for me, language is one big thing in a way that microaggressions could lead to macroaggressions.
Can you explain the question again?
So I'm asking tensions and difficulties that you know about between different groups in your area. So that could be between different groups, between your community, which we were talking about earlier, and other communities, and other groups. Other groups can be other ethnicities or just white Americans or whoever you're thinking of. I don't know. Huh? So between different groups in your area, are there tensions? Are there problems?
Yeah, I would, I'm a social worker, so I see, different, races when it comes to, individuals or families, Mexicans, I see a lot of, even Africans, they're on my caseload. And when I try to get social service, maybe they want to apply for example, SSDI, it should be very straightforward. This person has disability, this is what,